What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Shaping Your New Start Education Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Phil, too. And we are so excited that you have joined us this evening. Thank you so much for listening in on our podcast on the digital podcast platforms. We thank you for your support over the time. We look forward to introducing everything and anything education. So we have a special guest for you today. I am so psyched to introduce this guest. But before that, guess what? We got some sponsors. We got some sponsors here today. Listen, I want you to check out Shaping Your New Start. 6 Ways to Shape Your New Start ebook by yours truly, Dr. Phil 2. All you have to do is go to drphil2.com/ebook. This is a guide for educators and students and anybody who is looking to shape their new start. Go get the ebook today. All right. 6 Ways to Shape Your New Start, a guide for educators and students. And guess what? This book is going to shape your new start. It's going to shape a new angle, a new purpose for you. We want you to go get this book right now. And check this out, everybody. We want to make sure that you go and get We Need More Clouds. It's a book about blended families. I don't know if this face looks like me, but I hope that you can see the resemblance. You can see resemblance. Okay, but it is a book by Lynette Wesley, powerful book, and we want you to go get this book. And guess what? I'm throwing in an extra sponsor today because today we're going to talk about this. And check this out. The new book, it's a bestseller as well. All right. So we want you to check out A Promise is a Promise. All right. A Promise is a Promise. Check it out, everybody, by our guest. I'm going to introduce her in just a minute. So thank you, everybody, for joining in, everybody, because guess what? We're going to get into this right about. Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Shaping Your New Start Education Podcast. And I am here with my special guest, Dr. Tabatha Spurlock. What's going on?
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Dr. Phil, too, for having me with you this evening.
That's right. That's right. I'm excited. Listen, I just noticed when I was looking at your book cover, right? Here's the book cover. I noticed the colors in it. I wonder if it has any connection. Um, I'm just I see green, I see pink. You just couldn't help yourself, could you?
I couldn't, but I had an amazing illustrator, and I sent her some photos, and she worked her magic. And when I got the copy of the book back, I was in love. So she understood the assignment.
All right, all right. Well, my wife is also a Sora, so
Oh, cool.
she's excited about that. All right, you know what I'm saying. So, I saw the colors. She's already excited about that, and you already have somebody. All right, saying love the book. A promise is a promise. We're gonna talk about that in a little bit. Hey, Sora, what's up? What's up? What's up?
Hello,
We are
Sarah.
here.
Good evening. Hello.
We are here. We are here. All right. So listen. We're gonna get into your book a little bit later because we're excited. We want to tell everybody about it. I'm gonna make sure I do a review in my magazine that I write for my column, in Message Magazine. I'll make sure I have that right in there because I'm excited about it.
Thank
But
you.
let's talk about your beginning in education. Every guest, I like to talk about the beginning because education is so important to me. It's important that we really put that out there in the atmosphere. What was your like power moment in here?
Well, when I was in high school, we mapped out these plans, and I actually still have my yearbook. And I thought I was going to go into corporate America after taking all these business classes and working for a company called Philip Morris. My senior year is now Altria, but I was a part of the work program. And I was awarded the Cooperative Office Education Student of the Year Award. However, I had this mentor, and I want to give her her flowers in this moment. Her name was Miss Irma Monroe. And I met her my ninth grade year when I had applied for a job at a YMCA. But unfortunately, I was the oldest in a single parent home, and my mom didn't have transportation all the time. So, long story short, I got the job, but she wouldn't let me turn down the job because I didn't have transportation. And of course, I was embarrassed in that moment, but she was like, "No, I'll pick you up." So I was like, okay. So she picked me up and I went to work with her that entire summer. And when I graduated, I went to VCU. I stayed local and pursued a business degree. And I reached back out to Miss Monroe for a job reference. So it's important to have those relationships because you never know when they may come back around. And in the midst of asking her for a job reference, she had moved from the YMCA to the local Boys and Girls Club. And because of our relationship, she convinced me to get a part time job. So I was working for a government agency during the day full time, decided to work for the Boys and Girls Club part time, and I loved it. I loved being in the community, working with the children, connecting with the families. And within a year, I became a full time employee. And that was the start of my youth development professional career. And in 2005, decided to become an education career switcher and went into the classroom for the first time, took a couple courses, got my license, and I've been in K-12. This is my 15th year.
Wow. How was that first moment, that first time in the classroom? Because I know it had to have been crazy.
It was because I was this young, ambitious educator, and my background is I was raised in the hood and I worked in inner city, so I could relate to a lot of the issues that the students were dealing with. And it was kind of like my comfort zone because I wasn't fearful of their daily challenges, whether they were at home or some of the behavior challenges. I was in the trenches with them. We're going to figure this out. However, I share with you the name of my company is Empower One, Inspire Many. At the end of my first year, I was beating myself up initially because I wanted to save all of these babies. And the reality was I couldn't. And I definitely couldn't do it by myself. So I made up in my mind when I returned to the classroom that second year that I would empower one out of every classroom, every speaking engagement, every community opportunity that I had, because I've been a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha since 2002, that I would empower one and inspire many.
Come on.
So one would get everything from A to Z, and the others, they might make it to D or E in that space, but they would leave with something that they could connect to and relate to later on in life. And it's been great connecting with former students on social media because I've had several of them. They're still my babies and they know it. Once a student, always a student, a baby for life. And they'll go on job interviews and say, I learned that from Dr. Spurlock or Miss Williams. That's my maiden name. So the connection is still there because of the relationship that was established. And I learned from my mentoring relationship with Miss Monroe. And because I didn't have those type of relationships outside of that relationship with her, I didn't have it at school. I didn't want to be that same teacher. I wanted to make a difference to make sure that I made an impact in the lives of the students that I touched every day.
Shout out to Mrs. Monroe. And this is I'm gonna date the podcast. So anybody listen to it. We were recording this in Women's History Month. So we want to give a shout out to our female mentors, women mentors in education. And how powerful was that for you that she became that mentor for you?
It was extremely impactful because, as I mentioned, I honestly was embarrassed to tell her, I can't take this job. After I worked
Mhm.
hard, I applied for the job, I interviewed, and I received the offer. And in the conversation of me telling her, I was like 14 years old and telling her, I appreciate the opportunity, but I have to decline. She wouldn't let me do that. And she lived about 20 minutes from me, but she made it work. She created the route that she needed to take to pick me up on the way to the park. And I made sure, because I lived in an apartment neighborhood. So when she pulled up in front of my building, if I wasn't already outside, I was looking out the window to see when she pulled up so I could run outside to be respectful of her time. And I made sure I showed up every day.
Wow. That's a powerful story in itself right there. You made sure you took advantage of the opportunity that was given to you
Mhm.
and you ran with it. So check out our website, everybody, Empower One, Inspire Many. It's been a mantra I've had is like, listen, empower the people in your corner.
Mhm.
You know, take care of the people in your neighborhood and you'll eventually inspire many more, but make sure you empower one. I love it. I love it. I love the
Yeah.
website. So check it out, everybody. You know, we're talking about how we can bounce back like a boss. How can we bounce back like a boss? And yes, it's an amazing story because we have even more of your story that is amazing. And shaping your new start means that you have to bounce back. Shaping your new
Mhm.
start means that something happened where you had to create a new path for yourself, a new opportunity, because sometimes we get hit with adversity. Or sometimes people get slapped with adversity. I'm just saying. So, sometimes adversity slaps you in the face. So, tell me about your story, your adversity, what you had to overcome.
So you're right. I had to. So I started in the classroom in 2005, worked my way up to a central office position, and I thought I had arrived. I was the intervention specialist for a local school district, and I supported um, coordinators out in the field from third grade to 12th grade who were running the mentoring programs in our elementary, middle, and high schools. And there were a couple other programs that I helped supervise as well. Well, one day we received an email from an assistant superintendent. I'm sure you can relate. They were like, we need people to go read to elementary students throughout the district. We need you to sign up because you're the leaders. We want you to get out of the office. And of course, me being the volunteer philanthropist that I am, I immediately signed up. Well, on the day of the event, I went to the school, the elementary school, expecting to read to a group of first graders. And unfortunately, I never made it in the building. As I was walking, literally walking from my car, a fellow parent who was rushing, you know how that morning is, you drop your kids off and you're trying to go to work, and the parking lot is like a maze. Well, she backed out of her space and turned quickly and did not see me walking and literally ran me over with her SUV.
Wow.
Yes. And for 3 months, I could not walk without assistance. So I went from a wheelchair to crutches and then one crutch by the time I got back to work and had a slight limp. But I survived, praise God. And I'm glad that I'm here to tell the story. And I feel like things don't happen by accident. And God built me the way he did. And I hope it's okay to, speak about religion in this space because
Absolutely.
he built me for this to be able to help encourage and inspire someone else who has experienced a similar traumatic situation. And from that incident came this book because I dealt with PTSD, anxiety, and depression. And it was a fight to receive the health care that I needed at the time. And throughout that process, I had to create my own self care plan. And I did that by writing. Writing became my way to cope. So I would journal a lot. And then once we were hit in the midst of a pandemic, I was like, you know what? Let me write a book. I'm going to write a book because, and I don't want to give it away for those who want a copy of the book, but a month and a half before the accident happened, my husband and I were building a home based business, and we were on a 90-day run, which meant we were going to be traveling over the weekend. Our daughter, who was 5 at the time, would be spending a lot of time with family and friends. So we had a family meeting. And we said, okay, at the end of the 90 days, which would have been about winter break, what would you like to do? Where would you like to go? And the place that she selected in our book was Princess Fairyland. So when you read the book, it kind of resembles the real place we went, but for us, it was Princess Fairyland. If you
Love it.
follow, follow
Yes.
me with that.
Yes.
So it was my way of, getting the story out there and being able to relate to other parents, because there was this promise on the table that we could not fulfill because the accident happened in the midst of the time frame that, the promise was out there. And it was challenging as a parent, because we never want to say we're going to do something and then not do it. But I also know, and what I shared with my daughter was, a delay is not a denial.
That's right. Come on.
So we couldn't go when we wanted to, but by the time I got back to walking, the plan was still on the table. And so a year later, we were able to go to Princess Fairyland. And because I'm an extra type of person, I added some extra perks. So you'll read about those in the book, but just know that she had an amazing time. And as a parent, I was able to get over that guilt of having that weight and that pressure that I put on myself until I was able to fulfill that promise for her.
That's beautiful. And the powerful thing about a book is that it relates to a real story
Yes.
and it comes out of our experiences. So that is awesome. So you had to create your own self-care, you had to bounce back and you bossed it,
Mhm.
you know.
Yes.
You've come out, now you're an educator, you're a motivational speaker. You have a powerful story that is going to inspire many generations, okay? Many people.
Thank you.
Tell us about your steps on how educators, how students, how people in general, how can we also bounce back like a boss?
Okay. So BOSS is actually an acronym. So I'll go through the 4 steps. So the B is build. Whether you're an entrepreneur, an educator, or a student, you have to build your network, build your tribe. You can't do it alone. So I couldn't get through therapy without my therapist, for example. Students can't be successful in the classroom without the teacher. When you're building a business as an entrepreneur, we all need mentors. We need someone who has blazed the trail so we can learn from their mistakes, not to make them on our own, to bypass that learning curve. That's why they're there. That's why people share their story. So the first step is build your network, build your tribe, and sometimes your tribe may change. That network, that circle of influence may change, and we have to be open to change and
Come
accepting
on.
it. So
Say
once
that
you
again.
build the network, now we have to be honest. So I'm a tough love type of coach when I'm working with my clients. So everything that I say is with love, but I don't mind having those tough conversations. So as we transition to the O, you have to own your mistakes. We can't blame other people. I could have been stuck and said, well, she ran over me, so it's her fault that I can't live this fulfilling life. No, it happened. Suck it up, buttercup, and move on. So I had to just make some decisions. No, my life will not be 100% the same, but I'm going to capitalize on all the good that has come from this and just make it work and accept my new normal. So everybody can do the same thing, but own your own mistakes. It doesn't mean that the other party is not accountable or should be held accountable for their actions. When things just smack you dab in the face. So just roll with it. And then the first S is be selfless. You
Come
heard me
on.
say
Come
how
on.
Miss
Come on.
Monroe gave back to me and
Yes.
gave me a ride to work every day.
Yes.
So
Yes.
you have to figure out, how are you giving back to other people? We have to be in that space, whether it's, helping a student going the extra mile. Maybe, a lot of educators, unfortunately, they stay back to tutor. They come to school early to tutor. They're making calls in the evenings, on the weekends. So they're going above and beyond and being selfless because they have that passion, that desire to help see these children that they did not birth, but they feel like they're their own when, once they inherit them on their roster, then, they will go the extra mile. But lastly, while you're busy taking care of everyone else, the last S is self care. You must take care of yourself. And it is not selfish to take care of yourself. When you are feeling overwhelmed, as I shared, dealing with PTSD, anxiety, and depression, I didn't want to be stuck taking medication every day. I had to figure it out. I had to ask questions, ask the right questions. As a doctor, is a lot of things in life is about asking the right questions. Sometimes we don't get the answers we seek because we're not asking the right questions, and then ask them to the right people. But definitely take the time to create a self-care plan.
I love it. I love it. And that's how you bounce back like a boss.
Yes, that part.
I like the point about building your network, and sometimes your network changes. Sometimes
Mhm.
when you're going in one direction, some of your network might be going in another direction.
Yes.
And you still have to learn how to build your
Mhm.
network. And so, that's a powerful. You got some supporters here in the place today. You got some supporters in
Thank
the
you,
place.
everyone. Yes.
Yeah. I
Because
mean,
life changes,
yeah.
and sometimes we have to pivot, like with the pandemic. And if I can share the irony about launching this book during the pandemic was I had a promise on the table for my child. There were a lot of parents who were in limbo and had to go from working in an office to teaching virtually at home. Things shifted. Some were unemployed. Life has been happening to all of us. And now we're just getting back outside 2 years later. But I like to think about my nephew. My nephew had a big birthday party planned. We got shut down in March. His birthday was in April. And he was devastated because that's what we do for our children in my family. We have these big fancy parties and we like to have a good time and celebrate life. But my brother had to go another direction and give him, a game system or something like a big wow. But he had to pivot and shift the plan because my nephew felt devastated, but it was a situation beyond his control. So that's a part of the message that I've been sharing the last year and a half since launching the book with other parents. Again, a delay is not a denial. Keep it on the table. My daughter and I, we created these vision board boxes as an
Mhm.
extension of the book. So the
Yes.
book comes in the box with the canvas kit, and we hosted our first virtual vision board party back in January, and we have a few more coming up this year because the plan doesn't change. The end date may change, but you can still keep it on the table. And I think as parents, when we invite the children into the conversation instead of running from the conversation, then they become a part of the process and they get excited. And when you all get the book, you'll see how
Come
Kennedy
on, come on, come
persevered
on.
and dealt with the situation.
I see a book plug right here, and don't think I didn't notice your nails, okay?
Oh,
Don't think.
yeah.
All right.
We had regional conference this past weekend. So, I had to come correct.
Where was it?
In Hampton, Virginia. Not too far.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we had a
Sweet.
great
Sweet.
time.
Wow, that's
Yes.
powerful. Well, listen, I like the book. It's going to inspire many, and so everybody check it out. You can go to empower1inspiremany.com. We're going to leave that up there for a minute, and tell us some of the success stories of this book already. You had the release. When was your release?
September 25th,
Mm-hmm.
2020. And before I could even release the book, it was on Amazon because if you all are familiar with the publishing process, you put it out there and then you wait to have this big launch party. But
Yes.
the week before the launch party, the book was already a number one new release and bestseller.
Wow.
I
Come
was,
on now.
yeah, I was like, okay, God, I'm just going to keep going through the process as I'm new because I had to, shape a new start, as you said.
That's right.
And I became a children's book author.
Wow,
Yeah,
wow.
during the
Well,
pandemic.
That's powerful. And what launched you into motivational speaking now? Now you're getting into motivational speaking. What launched you there?
I've been speaking for about 15, 20 years. I actually joined Toastmasters through my church. Yeah, 15, 20 years ago, and did some speaking engagements. So in the beginning, learned what an honorarium was, and I was just having fun. And I teach, and I also, when I resigned from my job after the accident, I was an adjunct professor at Virginia Union for about 2 years or
Yes,
a year and a half. Yeah, so in that transition period before I went back in the classroom, so I've always been in the space of wanting to help others, and through education, I speak every day. I stand in
that's
front of
it.
students every day for about 90 minutes. So
Do you see yourself practicing your lines too in front of your students?
not necessarily in front of my students, but when I have speaking engagements in front of adults, of course,
Yes,
that's where more of the practice comes from, because by the
yes,
time you spend an hour or so on a lesson plan, you pretty much have in mind what you plan to do. But even with students, they're unpredictable. And especially the middle school students that I work with in the inner city.
come
So
on.
I can try to perfect it all day long, but we just roll with the punches, and we have a clear understanding of what's going to happen in
That's
room
right.
234.
Now, let's pivot and talk about that lesson plan preparation. I got to do an episode on lesson plan preparation.
Okay.
How is your preparation when it comes to lesson plans?
Uh, Very intense, but I try to be creative because there's a template that you must follow that's
Yes.
provided by the district.
Hmm.
And but I love to do a lot of project-based learning. That's why I enjoy being back in the classroom. And um, it's interesting because a lot of educators, unfortunately, the salaries don't line up with the background and experiences and the degrees and licensures that we have to bring to the table.
That's right.
But on my signature email for work, I have a quote by Michelle Obama that says, "Success isn't about how much money you make, it's about the difference you make in people's lives." So when I see that every day I'm sending an email, is a constant reminder that while it is great to receive a salary or compensation based upon your background and experiences, that's not why I went back in the classroom. And a lot of people have asked me since January 2020, after I went from this top specialist position at central office back to the classroom where I started 15 years ago, why are you a doctor in the classroom?
Mm,
Because I made up my mind that when I entered the workforce full time after having that 2 year hiatus after the accident and working on my doctorate, I want to do something that I would do for free. So I love making a difference in the lives of others. I love my students. And a lot of people don't know this. So I'm going to drop this bomb here. But I had a setback recently in my recovery. So I was out of work the past 6 weeks on medical leave. And when I
wow.
got back to work yesterday, my students were so excited. They almost knocked me down in the hall. And we were laughing at one of my eighth grade students, male students, a soror and I, who works across the hall from me, because he said, "Dr. Spurlock, I'm so happy to see you. I was suffering while you were gone." So we gave him kudos on, use of vocabulary, but we were like, suffering. But they really missed me, and it made it worthwhile, returning back to the classroom. And it just speaks to the difference that I'm able to make with them on a daily basis. So I appreciate it. I love where I am. And every day I just show up the same way I showed up at the YMCA with Miss Monroe. I show up every day and make a difference, because I don't know how long I may be there, but while I'm
Wow.
there, you're going to know it, and you're going to feel my
Wow.
presence and impact.
That's powerful. We're celebrating women in education. Women, listen, you're making history, okay? This is your history month. You've made history. You had a setback, but you bounced back like a boss, right? You bounce back like a boss. And that's the important part. You bounce back. And many of us have setbacks. Many of us. And so we thank God that you came back, and that you'll come. We pray that you'll come back stronger than ever, right? And we appreciate you taking your talents, taking your time to really pour into a lot of youth today, because our youth are dealing with so many issues. So what you're doing is important in the classroom. You are building that foundation while you're also building your business and building a legacy. So we celebrate you today. We celebrate you today. And thank you so much for being a part of this podcast. Yes, my boy said boss move, right? uh
Thank you all so,
Boss
and I
move.
want to thank you because I didn't share this in the beginning. I've had over a dozen requests to do podcasts since launching my book, but the timing wasn't right, and you can't tell your story while you're still trying to heal. But I'm
Mm.
ready, and thank you for extending the invitation because this is my first podcast ever.
Wow, come on,
I didn't
put
want
some
to tell you that in the
celebration
beginning,
in the
but
chat
we're
room,
making
everybody.
history today.
Put some celebration in the chat room. That's right. Listen, timing is everything. And
Yes,
so I appreciate you reaching out and making this happen for us, but we celebrate you. And listen, this podcast came right on time, right after the setback, right after the new start. It came right on time. So listen, we celebrate you. We celebrate you. Inauguration podcast. That's
yes,
right. Listen, and there's no doubt we'll do it again. A doctor, we appreciate you. And listen, everybody, you can check out her book, A Promise is a Promise, Amazon bestseller. A Promise is a Promise. You can get your copy even right now, and you can visit her. You want her to speak for any of your events? Go to empower1inspiremany.com. We want to thank everybody for listening on this podcast on the platforms. All right. Who's putting up? There's got to be only one person putting up the fire. So come on, give a shout out here. Give a shout
that's
out
Mr.
here.
Spurlock. I see you, and
Yeah,
my
yeah, yeah.
bestie is out there for me. So thank you all for the love and joining tonight.
That's right. That's right. Wow. Powerful, powerful. Thank you so much, everybody. So, everybody, we want you to go ahead and subscribe to our YouTube page, Shaping Your New Start, or our Facebook page, Shaping Your New Start. We want you to Shaping Your New Start. And we'd love for you to subscribe. We'd love for you to follow me on Instagram, Dr. Phil _2. Your Instagram is, well, you can look for Dr. Tabatha Spurlock on Instagram. So please follow her as well. And thank you for those who are joining in and celebrating with us. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your support. We'd love for you to go subscribe to our YouTube channel, Shaping Your New Start. We'd love for you to go and get also the book, 6 Ways to Shape Your New Start, a guide for educators and students and anybody who wants to reshape their purpose in life. 6 Ways to Shape Your New Start. We want you to go and get that. All you have to do is go to Dr. Phil 2 / ebook. It's free, y'all. It's free, 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 free. Just download it and it's yours. 6 ways to shape your new start. And guess what? One of the points is own your past. Own your past. So we're on the same page. Own your mistakes,
Yes.
own your past. I love it. I love it. Wow, this has been great, everybody. You can also listen to this podcast on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Anchor FM. So you can check us out, everybody, or just simply go to our YouTube channel, Shaping Your New Start, and like us there. Dr. Spurlock, thank you so much. God bless you in your journey as you are continuing to shape your new start and the start of others. All right, everybody.
Thank
This
you.
is the Shaping Your New Start Education Podcast. Everything and anything education. Here's to shaping your new start.